All right, our first panel today is a very interesting one. It's communism versus freedom. So everybody that is on the stage, or that is coming on stage, has immigrated to the United States. And we can learn something by listening to them, because they saw their country fall in communism. They moved here, and some of the flags that they see can be scary. So as I told you before, remember there's three things: fear, wisdom, what's the last one? Love. This is part of the dark piece, but there's a silver lining because there's a call to action at the end. I'll talk you through that. I'm going to turn it over to Deborah and all of our panel. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you guys again for being here. And what you're about to hear is some great experiences, personal experiences, some of what they've gone through, and also leave you with a little bit of hope. Well, a whole lot of hope. Okay, Anna?
Здравствуйте, my name is Anna Preissig, and I have been born in Soviet Russia. I have moved to United States of America in 1998, and I became a citizen in 2002 and moved to Texas in 2015. And I remember my childhood, and my childhood happened during the times of communism, and I observed the collapse of the communist system. I remember people living in tiny apartments. People did not have any opportunities. People couldn't buy things in the store. Nobody had any clothes, and if they did, they were all the same, and same was for toys. It was like last year's toilet paper shortage, but for every item on your shopping list. And those are my memories. I remember people couldn't say what they were thinking because it was dangerous. People were not supposed to read all of the books. And a lot of information about what communists did came up after the system collapsed. We learned that Bolsheviks who came to power in 1917, and it was a bloody mess. They killed from 20 to about 60 million of their own people to just support the regime. And they started with destroying the church. They took down churches, they burned them, they used them as granaries, and people were not supposed to have any religion. And then they continued with the taking all the people who could potentially disagree with them into concentration camps. My great-grandpa and his father-in-law died in one of those camps. My great-grandma had to pack her 3 kids and move to a different part of the country to just hide, and she was not speaking about her husband for the rest of her life. My grandma and her 2 sisters had to work at the factory since they were at a very young age, and all ended up being very sick later in their life. But the scariest, in my opinion, was when I would ask my grandma in 1990s, after all the stuff communists did came up to the surface, she would look at me with tears in her eyes, and she would still tell me that with the name of Stalin, they won. So she has never been convinced in any atrocities that have been done to her family, or to the rest of the country. And in my opinion, the indoctrination that she has been through has been the worst.
Thank you, Anna. Dimitri?
The Russians are coming. I too was born in the Soviet Union, in Kiev, part of Ukraine today, capital of Ukraine. Luckily, we immigrated to the United States in 1991, became U.S. citizen in 96, and been a proud Texan since 2012, so God bless Texas. 2 things I want to cover on the communism that really struck me as a child was indoctrination and fear. Fear is control, right? So the government, the Communist Party used KGB. You all know KGB, you've heard it in the comedies and all. But it wasn't funny at all, actually. When they would come to your home, and if anybody would file a complaint your neighbor would say that my neighbors are speaking about capitalism, they're criticizing the Communist Party, KGB would come to the home and they would interview everybody. And they would do this consistently because there would be a black mark on these people. So, tyranny, control, forget about First Amendment rights like we have in the United States. We're blessed to have that. But indoctrination in schools started really early. It was all about the Communist Party. Lenin's picture was in every classroom. He was the deity because he was the one who created the Soviet Revolution in 1917, as Anna pointed out. And we're stuck with this notion and this concept since the first grade and all the way through our lives. And one reminder that I've experienced here in America is CRT. You're all aware, you're all dealing with this now, most likely, in our schools. It's the same idea, same thing, is the Marxism that essentially covered Eastern Europe, and now it's trying to make its foothold in the United States. So.
Thank you, Dimitri. And next we have Jesus.
Hola, my name is Jesus, and I came, we left Cuba in 1986, 20 years after my parents actually asked to get out of the country in 1966. It was actually 5 years before I was born. In the 1940s and 50s, Cuba was a very prosperous country. We had a vibrant society full of art and music. We basically were known for our tobacco and rum industry, and we had a very strong economy. And even we exported Das Iones to the I Love Lucy show. In 1959, Fidel Castro took over the country and turned it into a communist country. Cubans were no longer to criticize the regime, the system, or the president at the moment. If you were ideologically aligned, if we were not ideologically aligned with the regime, they would ostracize or imprison you. My dad used to be visited by, like he said, the Cuban FBI, called the G2, at least every 6 months. He was incarcerated multiple times, and he was forced to do hard labor, even though he was a mechanical engineer. The government stripped, once they took power, they stripped all the rights from the Cuban people, all of it. Also, what they used was a lot of psychological war and oppression. They rationed the food that you could get. For a family of four, our family used to get very small amount of food. We used to get about 2 pounds of coffee, 3 pounds of sugar, 4 pounds of chicken, 5 pounds of rice a month for a family of four. So the Cuban people they didn't have needed the energy or the ability to raise a resistance. They were just trying to survive and trying to worry about how they could put food on the table on top of every other oppression they had. Basically, Cubans have to live based on survival and nothing else.
Thank you, Jesus. Carolina?
Hola, I'm Carolina Viamonte. I was born and raised in Venezuela, but it was God's plan to move me to the U.S. in 2002. It is an honor for me to say that I earned my citizenship in 2011. Yes. Now, Venezuela was known as the most wealthiest and prosperous country in Latin America. As all you know what is happening now. Venezuela is going through the worst economic and socialist crisis. Now, you might ask, well, why she's here? What have anything to do Venezuela with the U.S.? And the answer is simple. The reason why I'm here is because I love and I respect this country. I don't like to use the word hate, but I will hate to see the U.S. going through the same situation or similar situation that Venezuela. It is very hard to explain what happened in a very short time. What I can tell you, it is for so many years, it was basically a battle between two political parties, basically conservative and liberal. It was a lot of corruption. So the Venezuela citizens, they lost trust on the leadership. And that was the perfect opportunity for these communists and socialists to start working on. They start working on the school system, the major universities, and the workers, school workers union, the workers union. So little by little, they were working, making people change the way they think. Basically, while Venezuela citizens were enjoying freedom, and they never thought, no, this is not happening. So that was happening. You can all see what is going on in Venezuela now, that basically they have the control, they divide the country. Now, similar situation that Cuba, where there is no prosperity anymore, that basically they tell you what to do, what hospital to go, and the worst part is that they brainwash the kids in school, in the school system and the major university. I love this country so much. I see very similar things that I'm not happy, and that when you invite me and I say, I need to go there because you guys need to realize that maybe, I'm not thinking that it's going to be happening, but it's different things that you need to pay attention, because if you not pay attention right now, it can be a worse problem later. So,
Thank you, Carolina.
no problem.
Next, we have Luli.
Buen día. My name is Lucila Seri. I'm originally from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I have been a Texan and a U.S. citizen for 6 years now. So, as you can see, communism and socialism is a playbook. Indoctrination, flirt with illegals, pay people not to work. But I'm a data person, so let me tell you a little bit about communism. Do you guys like having your freedom? Forget about it. The government knows best, and they will tell you what to do. Do you like having faith in God? Forget about it. The government is God. Do you like owning a house? Yes. Forget about it. They will raise your property taxes so high, you will not be able to afford your own house anymore. Do you like having an income? I'm assuming yes. The government will raise income tax and all taxes so much that plus inflation, your earned salary would be worth barely anything. You like having a retirement plan? I know all of you love your 401k. Forget about it. Kiss those goodbye. The government will take over that money to finance social programs, but guess what? Most of that will end in their corrupted pockets. Do you like buying nice things? Forget about it, guys. Between the income tax, sales tax, you get value-added tax, and inflation, you will be able to buy 10% of less of what you do now with the same money. Do you like having a family? Nuclear family that we all know and love? Forget about it. The government is your father. They will work hard to destroy the nuclear family and indoctrinate our children to create even separation among us for us to serve daddy government. And last, everybody likes having fair elections, and we have had issues about that. That is all on purpose, guys. It's the fraud and the candidates that are friends among each other, but they're enemies. That is all communism, is to make us believe, oh, we have a choice. But no, they will win because either it's their candidate or they win by fraud. So yeah, any similarity with current American reality is not a coincidence, guys. So the world has fallen into socialism and communism. America is barely standing. Will you guys help save your country?
Thank you, guys. That's really good, and I appreciate it. I just want to ask a few questions. If I could start with you, Luli. What is the lasting impact of communism that you saw in your country?
Misery, demoralization, the people have no fight anymore. They beat them to the ground, as Jesus said, this rationing, you're under the thumb of the government, and there's no way out from there. You don't own anything, you depend on them, and you have to watch what they say, because you cannot offend daddy government.
Thank you, Luli. Carolina, what's the lasting impact of communism with Venezuela?
Controlling. I think that we here are kind of like blind, don't see signals that you need to pay attention. I mean, basically living comfy. No, that is not going to be happening. So yes, the country is dividing and is changing different way to think.
Thank you. Anna, how about with you?
Well, communism collapsed in Russia, so I was raised to believe that it's not a system designed to last, designed to self-sustain. And we did observe lifetime savings of people melting in a day or so. One day you could buy a car with a certain amount of money, and next day this was just basically zero in your bank account. And I also can see that exactly same as mentioned before me, personal freedoms have been suppressed to such a degree that people do not even believe that they must have them. And it makes a huge difference between many other places in the world and this country.
Thank you. And gentlemen, what would our country, what about the Bill of Rights that you see as impacting if we were to engage in a state of communism?
So let's draw this contrast. In the United States, we have inalienable rights, right? We have Bill of Rights, we have freedom of speech, we have Second Amendment, we have right to private property. In communism, there aren't those rights. You are not entitled to your own private property. You have no freedom of speech because you are not allowed to criticize the regime. The regime is going to tell you what you are and what you can do. Once you lose these rights, there is no going back. That's it. Generational theft. That's what it is.
Thank you. Jesus, you want to share what you feel would happen if the communism versus our Bill of Rights were taken?
I probably have to say the most important Bill of Rights that we have is the right to bear arms. The right to bear arms will keep every single other rights that we have in check. It would, if you lose the right to bear arms, you will lose the First Amendment, the Third Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, and from there, every single one of them. So to me, the most important things that we should do, it's basically keep that first and most important one, because once you lose that one, you will always lose your country. Every single tyranny in the world has actually lost the Second Amendment first, the right to bear arms. In 1959, Fidel Castro took every single weapon away from every single Cuban. And after that, it has been the same thing happening in Colombia, it happened in Venezuela, in Russia, and in every single country where tyranny has become the government. Basically, the Second Amendment was first taken away from the people.
Thank you, guys. Wow, powerful, impacting, and eye-opening to me. But I'd like to leave you, I would like for you guys to leave this audience with some final closing words. If you had something to say to them, to encourage them, because we're here to bring them hope, and we know that there is great hope in our America, because we're going to fight for our America. But what would you say, from being on both sides of the coin, what would be a lasting impact that you would like to tell the audience? Anna?
I would recommend for people to basically notice that all the stuff you are seeing is here or last few years in the United States, the world has seen before. And today's complacency is tomorrow's captivity. It is up to us what kind of world we're going to leave to our kids. And we are confident that communism is not a sustainable regime. So we would recommend to just basically pay attention and do as much as you can to maintain the social system you currently have.
Thank you. Dimitri, same question? Comment?
Start local. We've seen what grassroots can do. We've seen that in 2009 with the Tea Party. We've seen that we, little people, have a very loud voice if we come together. And that's going to be the key. Start local and go big.
Thank you, Dimitri. Jesus, your last comment?
Because I'm Cuban, I've seen this same play for many years now in many countries. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm actually pretty upset at the American people. And why am I upset? Because the writing is in the wall. Things are happening at an extremely fast pace and people are not paying attention. The only way this stops is if we show up and show off. If we do not do this, this country will become what every other country actually has become. And like Benjamin Franklin said, right after they penned the Constitution, and they asked him, what did you give us, a republic or a democracy? And he said, we gave you a republic only if the American people can keep it.
Thank you.
I think that it's important to do research before to make any decision. I think that sometimes people watch too much TV and there is a fake news and everybody believe it. Not because someone talks to you pretty or looks pretty, they're telling you the truth. So do research before I make any decision and stop watching fake news.
Thank you. Luli?
I would tell you that we still have time. The clock is running out, but we have time. And if there's something that this country has, it's a fighting spirit that I have not seen through South America. That being said, we need to get involved and actually take action. Coming to these conferences is great, but if we go back home and do nothing, why bother? Stay home watching, well, not Netflix because they're liberal, another one. But guys, get involved. Don't trust the mainstream media. Get involved locally. You're in a great place here. You can talk to Deb about the DFW deplorables. You have Blanca with vaccine. We have the Defend the Republic people. You have Texans against illegal immigration. You mentioned you have it here. So do connect with people. Get involved local. Get more people involved. We have a fight, but nobody's gonna save us here. There's no plan. There's no magic solution that will save this. The magic solution and the plan is us getting involved and taking action.
For our future generation, because we're an adult, but we need to work for them, for the future, for a country with prosperity. That is what I want to see for the future.
Yes. Well, thank you, panel. Let's give our panel a big hand. We thank them for everything. And I encourage everybody to take heed to what they're saying, because we have to fight for our America. And our biggest weapon is prayer. Our biggest weapon is each other. Our biggest weapon is to link arms and stand together and not back down. Don't be silent and don't sit on your hands. Keep going. God bless you. Have an amazing day and learn a lot of information. God bless.
So much, you guys. God bless the USA.